Did I do that? Hey, it's Romania Black, and sorry, not sorry, but ghetto. Or should we call him Brain Coon? Brain Coon isn't upset that the Board of Gay Yearning has taken a dark, twisted turn. Yes. So we are on episode 10 of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. And as you know in the last episode, old Brain Coon, I've been calling him Poser Ghetto or Fake Ghetto. He's just called, as the Discord has dubbed him, Brain Coon. Brain Coon has seemingly outmatched Gojo by trapping him within this prison realm, this little jack-in-the-box. And so, who knows what's going to happen to him now, right? But that's what we're here to find out. We're here to find out this episode what has happened to dear Gojo. But the Board of Gay Yearning has been taken over by Brain Coon and put on hiatus for now. So, in any case, I have some comments to talk about, but I'm very excited for this episode, mainly because we don't know what's going to happen now. We have literally no clue what is going to happen now that Gojo is supposedly sealed in this box. What does that mean for the rest of our groups? I'm assuming chaos is going to ensue for a while. The question is, in a traditional shonen, chaos would ensue, but then your main protagonist, in this case Yuji, would come together and get everybody all banded together and they'd lead an assault against the bad guys and win. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. One, I think that Brain Coon is gonna get the hell out of there because Ghetto's body has no place in being there now. They literally, Brain Coon just took Ghetto's body to Gojo. And now that they have Gojo in the little box, I don't know why he would stick around. I think he would be like, Jogo, Choso, take care of business. I'm gonna head out. Bye. Meet you guys back at the cabin. We'll go play another game of life. Mahito, you got this. And he would just be on his way. So if I were Brain Coon and I had what I came for, I wouldn't just hang around with Gojo in a box. I would get the hell out of there and leave it to these three. And if they come back, they come back. And if they don't, because here's the thing. It's been commented, and I haven't forgot it from season 1. Nobody knows that Ghetto is still alive or that his body is still usable, is probably the better way of putting it. Nobody knows that. Gojo, I feel like throughout the movie and throughout other aspects, well, in the movie, Ghetto was technically still alive, but I feel like even in parts of season 1, there were moments that Gojo was kind of getting this weird hint, like, this feels weird, this feels familiar, it can't be Ghetto, he's dead, but what is this? And so Gojo was kind of hitting around at it, but the thing is, nobody else was. So if anybody else sees Ghetto, it's going to be a problem. So logically, the thing to do would be, well, no one else around will know it's me. I've got Gojo. I'm a head out, and you guys take care of it, right? That would make the most sense. But will anybody else see Ghetto, or will he make his escape? Because yeah, in that case, even if Jogo dies, even if Mahito dies, even if Choso dies, they're probably not going to tell before they're dead. Nobody's going to listen to them. They're cursed spirits or they're, curse wound paintings. Nobody's going to listen. So it's no skin off of Brain Coon's back. If the three of them die, he's still got Gojo in the box. He's mission accomplished. He's not going to care. So it's nearly the perfect crime. It's nearly the perfect crime that has been enacted. It's just a matter at this point of, is he going to get away with it without anybody else seeing? That is the question. That is the question, right? How did Nanami know that Gojo was sealed off? That is the question. I guess we're going to find that out hopefully this episode. But with that being said, I'm going to throw this a few more times before Huckleberry goes and lays down. But I have some comments I want to talk about before we dive into this episode. JV was saying that Mahjong was the game that was being played, and that I figured that whenever the dominoes or the tiles tipped over, that was a sign that the game was won, which coincided with Gojo being trapped by Ghetto. But in Mahjong, the hand that Brain Coon gets is apparently the best in the game. There is a 1 in 2,464 chance that you will get this hand, and it's called the 13 Wonders or 13 Orphans, and it symbolizes the luck of getting Gojo. And I think that's a really cool thing of, like, they were talking about how as a Mahjong player, they're like the odds of you ever getting that are insane. So seeing it happen in the manga and on screen is really amazing. Baron talks about how Gojo is the cool mentor or the good mentor, but he's also batshit crazy, hiding behind decades of anguish and repressed depression, you know? He's just hiding behind repressed gay anguish. And it's just hiding all this feralness in Gojo, which I really like. I like the idea of Gojo being this cool mentor figure, but then he's also insane, right? Which goes back to the idea that you can't be a good jujutsu sorcerer unless you're a little crazy. Which kind of brings about, how is Yuji a good jujutsu sorcerer? I guess he's crazy in how bold he is, and the fact that he has Sukuna in him. I guess that helps make up for that. And that Brain Coon saw Geto's love of Gojo possibly through his memories. And so that's the sad thing, is that if Brain Coon was utilizing Geto's memories, it, one, showed how much Gojo was in love with Geto, because I'm sure that through Geto's memories, Brain Coon saw the heart eyes coming out of Gojo. But then also, it means that it was mutual, that Geto liked Gojo. And it's like, well, I think Baron said, Brain Coon was like, good for me, you guys are gay, yay! And I was like, right? I mean, at this point, I think it's beyond just friendship. It's like soulmateism. Because otherwise, there's no one else on Earth that Gojo would have stopped for a minute for and reminisced about. Nobody. Sorry, wouldn't have done that for Shoko. Wouldn't have done that for Nanami. But for Geto, sure would have. Anime Annie, as well as Anne, pointed out the idea that when Gojo was like talking about like, I felt I saw through, my soul said it was not you. The I that he uses, the pronoun that he uses, was in the ore tense. So he went back to the way he was with Geto before. And I'm like, I can't, y'all. I can't. I can't right now. And then apparently Anime Annie talked about the Green Mile quote that connected to this last episode. I killed them with their love for each other. Yep. Just gonna pile it on. Gege's just gonna pile it on and hope that we can still swim amidst all the weight of this anguish. Also, yeah, Anime Annie labeled it pronoun hurt. Gege initialing the power of pronouns to make us feel tortured. It's great. It's love, damn it. Not anymore. I do appreciate in the last episode that we don't actually hear what Brain Coon sounds like. There wasn't like a voiceover. There wasn't like a gravelly sound added to the voice mix of Geto. It just sounded like Geto. I mean, the tone sounded different where you could tell it wasn't Geto speaking, but the voice was the same, which is super creepy, meaning that you probably won't understand what that thing is saying unless it inhabits a body, which is creepy in itself. Here for the plot. Talks about how Gojo and Geto communicate through the phone a lot in the flashback. And in the present time, we see that kind of paralleled with Gojo and Megumi. And Megumi and Geto have a lot of similarities in how mature they are. I talked about it in the comment too, and I talked about this in the flashbacks as well. But Megumi is a good balance for Gojo, just like how Geto was a good balance for Gojo. Megumi and Geto were so like level-headed and kind of pragmatic in how they thought, that it was a nice balance for Gojo's kind of wild, like feral idolism. So it was interesting, right? Although I don't think what's interesting is Megumi's moral values seem different than Geto's in a way. But when we get a Megumi-centered episode, we'll probably talk about that in more detail. And then Megumi, I like the way that Here for the Plot phrased this. Megumi adopted Gojo, a cool-headed, from the streets middle schooler who had lost their father, or their father had abandoned them, was suddenly taking care of a heartbroken teenager who had lost Geto. I mean, how else can we phrase that, right? That just cut to the core, eh? Gin talks about how Nanami, in the scene where he's talking about Gojo from episode 9, the interview, he's in the same room that he was in the OP of season 1. I was like, oh, that's a nice little callback. Nice little foreshadowing from the season 1 OP. I wonder if anybody that was a manga reader back then caught on that Nanami was in the same room. Interesting. And Seppi said that in some cultures, bubbles, when they were like blowing bubbles in the playground with the children, in some cultures, bubbles trap spirits. So when they're planning on and plotting catching Gojo, there's like a little callback there that's like a little kind of foreshadowing and metaphor of them putting Gojo in the bubble, which is fun, right? And then Rizu finally said that Gege has said that in order to foil Brain Coon's plan, there was one thing that they needed to have done and everything would have been ruined. They should have cremated Geto. And that would have solved it all. Because, yeah, You never would have caught Gojo if you'd done that, but too late now! Too late now, bitches! Cheers. Yes, that is not wine. By the way, I've got to get up early tomorrow, so unfortunately Brain Coon must drink cranberry juice. But it serves the same purpose. It looks fancy in the glass. So the true crime and evil is that Brain Coon is drinking cranberry juice out of a wine glass. But I'm super excited, y'all. I hope you all are too. I cannot wait to see what this episode has in store. I'm super, super, super excited. I'm going to throw this one more time to Huckleberry and tell him to go lay down. Mama's got to do a reaction. And just see what all we get, y'all. But I'm telling you, I have no clue where this episode's going. Now that Gojo's been sealed, I was expecting that to happen, I don't know, like 6 episodes from now. I figured what I thought was going to happen was that while they were fighting Gojo and trying to get him to be prepped to be sealed, then everybody else was going to converge and it was all going to be this big thing, right? But no, Gege's smart. Gege's smart getting out of the way early. Someone commented, they're like, it's good that Gojo's gone now because it's going to give the other characters an opportunity that they have to grow to survive. And I'm like, yes, that is very good. My fear is that that's not going to work. They're going to die. But, you know, and I can't say, oh, that's not going to happen. Yuji's going to be totally safe because we don't know. Gege has made it very clear in the story that you can't trust anything. No one is safe. And that worries me. I mean, hell, he could kill Yuji off and make Yuta the protagonist at some point for all we know, right? Now, I don't think that's going to happen because Yuji's got all the Sukuna fingers in him, but if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be surprised if he did that, so. And who knows, Yuji could be put into like a coma halfway through the season or the series, and then Yuta has to become like the protagonist, or Megumi has to become the protagonist or something. I don't want to give Gege any ideas. So we're going to get this party started. I feel like this wig is a little bit busted, kind of like how Ghetto is at this point. But we're not going to waste any more time. I want to dive in and see what this lovely episode has in store for us and just go from there. So we're going to start episode 10 of Jujutsu Kaisen. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. Well, touche, Gege. I was very surprised about this episode for a lot of reasons. And I want to thank the mods over on Patreon. I want to thank Floor for being the best, because I'm sure after the last episode, everybody was like, Romania, were you not going to question the little Bluetooth Mechamaru? I didn't question it because in my brain, it all made sense because I had it all figured out in my brain. First of all, I don't know why I thought Mechamaru's voice actor was Suda, but I did. I thought Nanami was talking to, in my defense, I had just gone through the Board of Gay Yearning having a major makeover and my brain was a little befuddled. And so I was thinking that, one, it was Nanami talking to Yuji, not Mechamaru. I thought it was Nanami over the headset, and he was like, oh, hey, Nanami, what's going on? And Nanami finding out that Gojo was sealed, and I thought this episode was going to explain how Nanami found that out. That's what I was expecting to happen. And as far as the Mechamaru Bluetooth headset, I thought it was like a technology that Mechamaru had left the Jujutsu Society, and they were like, well, he did, let's use it. That's what I thought. And the fact of it was that Yuji, because the episode chose to end with Yuji hearing that Gojo was sealed, and that was where Mappa decided to cut off the episode, which makes sense. It's a great way to cut off the episode. Because Yuji didn't immediately do the throwing of it like he does at the beginning of this episode, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was like, okay, well, it's a headset they've had that they brought with them. Where'd he get it from? I guess we'll find out next episode. Oh, how did Nanami know about Gojo? Guess we'll find out next episode. Well, I'm wrong. It was Mechamaru. From beyond the grave, Mechamaru. What's interesting in this episode is that there's a lot of moments where we not only question you know, souls being attached to bodies and the part that plays, and Mahito gets in on the debate, and there's Jogo. There was a lot of philosophical discussions in this episode, and a lot of little philosophical tamperings, and I'm like, Gege, you are just stirring the pot. Gege is just sitting there being like, let's think about all these crazy things now, kids, and just stirring the pot like you do. But man, and then I was about to give up hope on the board of gay yearning, but I got stuff to add because Gojo influencing Suguru's body from beyond the grave. Yes, indeed, all of my heterosexual friends, they too encouraged the corpses of their dead best friends to act again. You know what? You don't have to ship Gojo and Geto, but you can't tell me it's not there. I'm sorry. No, that's freaking soulmate vibes, you know. Make it platonic, whatever, but it's soulmates. So this episode had a lot going on with it, and I started the episode with the screen paused on the little boot up system. It's like 1990s Mac computer booting up. It says this driver is triggered by SG sealed, which is Satoru Gojo sealed. WIS-SEU SOMED will device driver, and there's like a Jin, it's like Evo, whatever. The device is the Mechamaru will, which is, MK will is like Mechamaru's will, which is so, I'm floored that it's literally his soul. It's like he's leaving a final farewell message to Yuji and the others, being like, hey guys, I know I goofed. I betrayed you all to get this body, but I also, in the process, have gathered all this information, and I'm giving it to you as my parting gift. Heed my words. Don't fuck up like I did and end up dead like I did on October 19th. I'm like, oh. So it's literally confirmation that he's dead, which is the most tragic thing, that Mechamaru's dead, and this is his final parting gift. Either that or he's just lied and he's alive somewhere, but this makes it seem pretty legit that he's dead, which is the saddest thing. Oh my god. And we'll talk about the butler. We'll talk about old Itoji, I always forget his name, but I feel bad that stupid blonde prick stabbed him over and over again. Oh my god. I want to call the blonde Toby from Sweetie Todd, the Demon Barber Fleet Street, be like, Toby! I want to call him Toby for some reason, but I know that's not his name, but he seems like a Toby to me. So that's what I'm going to call him. But yeah, oh my god. So Mechamaru, let's just talk about all the things going on in this episode. Mechamaru has left what he calls his insurance and basically set, we could question how Mechamaru could set his final will and testament to go off when Gojo is sealed and how that's activated. We could question such things, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to question it. I don't know how that works, how that possibly could be a device that works, but I'm sure maybe we'll find out later. Who knows? But Mechamaru's insurance is to warn them of Gojo's sealing, to tell everybody else. Mechamaru MVP, because if he didn't tell all of them what was going on, if he didn't tell Yuji what was happening, and then this information didn't get to Nanami and the others, then it definitely would have been over. Like, they would have been so blindsided that they would have been destroyed. So Mechamaru, I also like the idea that Mechamaru, he trusts Yuji, which is so interesting. He trusts that Yuji wasn't going to tell. He wasn't going to tell and leak the information, that he was someone that Gojo trusted above all others, and so he could be trustworthy himself. I think that's huge. I love that. I think it's something that's really worth mentioning. But yeah, also says copyright JK Korn, Jujutsu Kaisen Korn. I'm like, it feels like Gege is just having fun with this at this point, which is kind of, okay, sure. But yeah, so we start this episode off with everything. The memory 8000. And then loading, oh my god, little Mechamaru. And so it shows that he's down there, and 3 of him activate, and he gets with Yuji. He's like, there's something in my ear. And he tries to get rid of it and be like, what the heck is this? And it bounces back, and he's like, wait, I'm your ally, you idiot. There's no time. Gojo's been sealed. And then Brain Coon saying, we'll meet again in the new world. And Gojo, how long will you keep letting it have its way with you, Suguru? Gojo's eyes lighting up and just being like, how dare you, you monster take the body and memories of my man and try to use it against me. How dare you insult him? It felt like Jack Skellington, like getting onto Oogie Boogie being like, how dare you shame yourself? You know, that's what it felt like. It was great. It was so wonderful to see Gojo be like, don't you let him do this. And then for Geto to like, for his body to twitch. For Geto's body to respond to Gojo. Because let's be real, the twins were there. The twins that Geto cared about a lot. He saved their lives. They were like little daughters to him. They didn't make his body react. You know who made his body react? You know who did? Yeah, you know who did? Freaking Gojo Satoru did. That's what. I'm like, oh my god. And literally him trying to choke Brain Coon. I love it. I love Gojo being like, that's right. You choke him out. You could really get voyeuristic with this and go in weird places, but I'm not going to do that, y'all. I'm going to let you all in the Discord go that route. Not me! And then, yeah, him choking him out and being like, oh, ha, ha, ha. The thing, and then poor Gojo. Gojo looks so young in that moment where he's just, because, you know, there's not only Gojo being mad that this creature has taken over Geto's body and brain and everything, but him having to watch his friend choke himself is like, it is like 9 kinds of messed up. I'm like, Gege, you're just gonna like be angst city for all of us, aren't you? Of course you are. But him saying incredible. This is a first. The first time that a body has responded and fought back, right? The first time. Well, that's because none of the other bodies you took had their soulmate standing next to them. Meanwhile, Mahito and everybody starts waking up and they're like, hey, Geto, what's going on? I like that Mahito kind of like stumbles over to me. He's like, hey, what's happening? Are we like, oh, that was a trip? And he's like, look, you propose the soul exists before the body. So, okay, we've got lots of philosophy stuff going on here. Philosophy. And then, so we have Mahito, who posited that the soul exists before the body. And that goes back to season 1. I like that we harken back to a lot of things that we talked about in season 1. That being one of them. That was something that when Nanami and them were fighting. But the body is part of the soul. Yes, and so then we have Brain Coon, we're going to call him BK, says the body is part of the soul. The sad thing about it is that this does not mean that Geto can come back, right? That's the sad thing, is that I think that some of the fandom would be like, oh, that means that Geto can go back. No, it doesn't. All it means is that there is a trace of one's soul in the body even after death. The thing is, most of the time, your body isn't taken over by a parasitic curse when you die, so that this opportunity never comes up to exhibit this. But in this case, because the body is still part of the soul, it's reacting to its literal soulmate. I'm not over it. I'll never be over it. You can't stop me. None of you can. I'm going to be... Any reactors that don't acknowledge that they're soulmates, I'm like, you're missing so many layers of this show by not acknowledging it, right? It says the soul is part of the body. There's no way to explain this phenomenon or the fact the body's memories flow into my brain after I swap hosts. So yeah, and that part makes sense, because at first I was like, well, how in the world do you get their memories if you've swapped brains? Usually the memory is housed in the brain, but Brain Coon is saying that the memories are not only housed in the brain, but they're within the soul itself that incorporates through the body. And when he switches to a new host, he gets those memories from that body. Makes sense, but damn, it's so good. Mahito's just like, okay. He's like, does that have to be a universal truth? I love that Mahito, who comes across as so childish, is thinking about things like this, where he's like, well, is that the case all the time? Are you sure the world doesn't operate differently for your technique and mine? And each technique is its own worldview. I mean, we just take the time while Gojo is slowly being sealed away to like question these things. So Mahito then posits the idea of that it may be individualized. I'm not surprised that Gege takes time to have this philosophical discussion. I mean, he took time to explain literal calculus while Gojo was attacking his enemies, so this should not be surprising to us whatsoever. He says, what a lovely idea. I like that Mahito's like, Mahito looks kind of innocent there. He looks really innocent in parts of this where it's like, he's just like, okay, whatever. Which Brain Coon would probably find that idea very appealing because it means that not every body that he inhabits has the potential to fight back, but every body has the potential to possibly do something different with their technique. But I don't think he's swapping out a Geto anytime soon. No. And then I like the Gojo's like, I'm tired of this. If you're going to seal me, hurry it up. I'm bored. Not only is it foul, but the view is awful. He's like, I don't like any of you. And he's like, well, I'd like to enjoy it a bit longer, but nope. I don't want anything else to happen. And then gate close. Oh, all the eyes are so creepy. And then phenomenal cosmic power. The thing about it is, as Gojo's getting sealed, the last thing he sees is Geto smiling at him. Do not think that Gojo is not going to use that as motivation. Do not think he is not going to use that and be like the first thing when he gets out of there, if he gets out of there. We'll talk about that in a second, is that he's going to be like, I'm going to wreck your shit. You know? And then it just becomes this little box. Yep. And there we be. Boop. And there's the box there. And then it like becomes concrete and seals up. And somebody was like, so we can't use it anymore, right? It only holds one person. And it's, unless the man inside kills himself, it's unusable. So whoever was inside of it before, theoretically, has killed themselves. Now the question is, how do they know? Does it just open up, or does its eyes open if it's usable? If it becomes this little flesh-colored red box, does that mean it's usable? But if it's gray like that and sealed up, it's not? I guess so. I don't like the implication you have to kill yourself to get out. However, Gojo can seemingly hear from the outside. So if he hears that, is Gojo going to be trying to find a way to... I mean, Gojo's come back from the dead once. He technically died and used the reverse curse technique to come back. So we don't know, or at least I don't know, because I'm anime only, I'm curious if we're going to find out if you can use any cursed energy inside of the prison realm. Is the conditions of the prison realm, we're going to put the prison realm here, is the condition that you are trapped until you die inside, but time is suspended, which is good to know. Good to know that time is suspended. So even if he wasn't there 1,000 years, Gojo would still come out looking as hot as ever. Just infinitely more pissed. And so it's like time is suspended. The question is, can you use a cursed or reverse cursed technique inside? So could Gojo technically like stop his heart or something to fulfill the requirements of the seal and prison realm unleashing him, and then him like boost himself back to life with his reverse curse technique? I don't know. There has to be a way he gets out of the box, right? He's not going to be stuck in the prison realm forever for the rest of the series. Right? Right? What if Gege never let him out of the box? What if Gege kept him in there forever? And he was like, no, this was it. And it's just, that's how it happened? Oh, that'd be so crazy. But no, he's going to get out eventually. But this episode's called Pandemonium. Interesting. I like that we immediately get out of an episode called Pandemonium and we cut to Mei-Mei's little brother, like, yawning. Like, I'm like, what? The world is in chaos, potentially, and you're sitting there yawning. Okay. What I do love is that Mei-Mei has her hair in front of her face while she's hearing the news about Gojo being sealed. And we only see Nanami's eye for a second where he's like, excuse me, what? Like, all of them know the dangers and the problem of Gojo being sealed and what it means for Jujutsu society. But they all kind of try to mask it to be like, this is fine, everything's fine, when it's really not, right? That's just so crazy. And Mechamaru is like, look, the fact that I'm here is proof enough you should listen to me. I basically am dead, and I was killed by Mahito. What's here now is no more than insurance I left when I was still alive. I also like that it can interact with them, though. I think it's really cool that he uses his cursed energy to kind of make like a puppet to where it can interact with them. That part's really neat. I like that. And so he's like, I had to sneak in these conditions so that it wouldn't just open up, you know, randomly in the wrong hands at the wrong time. And I like that he says that he was like, well, May, he's like, you have your reasons for being here, just like Yuji does. Itadori wasn't even part of Jujutsu Society until 7 months ago, or several months ago. So he's saying all this was set up a certain way. He's like, I'm the one who has kept stopping it. Or she says, I'm the one who keeps stopping Itadori-kun from heading straight to Shibuya. So even if we were ordered to be on standby. And he's like, then why is a curse user currently headed your way to eliminate you? So I think that Mechamaru calls her out, right? I was really thinking for a second that the curse user was going to be somebody we had met before, like the blonde, but it wasn't, right? Instead, it was like this weird guy with a frog hat and a dog that I'm like, I hope Mei takes care of them rather quickly. And so she's like, wow, there's literally first grade curse users here, which is problematic. They're just coming out of the woodwork. I love the shot of where she like lifts the hair out of her eyes. Where have they been hiding and what have they been up to until now? So that's a good question. Yeah, where have... I want to bring that question up because we're going to tie back to that with the white-haired person here in a second. So where have these high grade curse users been hiding and planning? I mean, the ones that Geto had in the movie, a lot of them escaped and went off on their own. So there's a lot of stuff to reason. I mean, there's a large stand to reason that those curse users that escaped that were part of Geto's clan could have gone and recruited other members over the last year. There's no reason to think they wouldn't have. And there's no reason to think that this clan wasn't a lot bigger than what we saw in the movie. We just only saw a fraction of it. They've just been keeping in the shadows, waiting for this opportunity. Because like Nanami and like Ino explains later, a lot of the curses have been in hiding because they've been scared of Gojo. The same falls for curse users. They've all been terrified of Gojo and knowing he could stop them, so they've been in hiding. But now that Gojo's gone or sealed, then it's a totally different ballgame, right? And so I like that Mei is going to do this one thing, and Mechamaru's like, no, let's not do this. Let's follow this plan instead. We've got 4 different veils. They're all scattered about. We've got to do this a certain way. Please follow my instructions. And I like that Yuji backs Mechamaru up and is like, hey, this is this guy's dying wish. He left this for us. Let's go with it. And I'm like, I love you, Yuji's our main protagonist. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And so they want him to go to Shibuya from the surface. So he has the advantage of, do not go underground in the shadows where you can be cornered. Don't do that. Go from above. And tell everybody about Gojo being sealed. Mechamaru saved the day. He literally potentially saved the entire situation from being utter trash. So, not saying it's not going to be utter trash from here on in because we're going to talk about it, but MVP to Mechamaru from beyond the grave. From beyond the grave, Suguru and Mechamaru. Although I don't ship Mechamaru and Yuji at all. Mechamaru only gets Miwa, and the fact that he shows regret and thinks about her even in the afterlife, I'm like, Gege, how could you? Gege's like took the 2 ships I had and was like, bye. I'm like, and of course, Ui decides to stay with Mei. Fun times. I do like the animation on her and her brother. It's nice. He's like, stake your life on this. I like that the brother's like, I'm staying with my sister. Smart plan. So then we go for Jogo. Jogo and Choso slowly waking up. And we get this discussion, which is so fascinating to me. Where they're like, okay, so at this point, he's like, you guys are all awake. And now we have our next move. So, and that's when the eyes all open up and Gojo like plops down using gravity to just sit there. And the fact that all the eyes start moving and they're blue like Gojo's, but they start crying. Like, if these eyes react to Gojo's emotions and they're crying because he's in anguish, because he said the eyes were reading Gojo and trying to understand him to keep him imprisoned, and they're weeping. So they're crying because Gojo's letting out all of his sadness. Or it's the eyes are figuring out the sadness that's been inside Gojo all this time. Oh my God, really? And just like the weight of it, oh my God, it's symbolic. The weight of Gojo's anguish, the gravity of it is keeping him there. And of course, inside, I love that we go inside of the prison realm. Like, I didn't think we were ever going to see what it looked like inside. I love that we go inside of it, and it's just like skeletons after skeletons, like just looking at him, staring, just an endless sea of faces staring at him, saying physical time isn't passing here. And he's like in a hammock of bones. He's like, man, I screwed up. This is all kinds of bad. And the people he thinks of are Megumi and Nobara. It'll work out somehow. And I think what that means is that he's worried because he's worried about Megumi and he's worried about Nobara. He doesn't think of Yuji in that moment, which is interesting. But what that tells me is that he wasn't worried about Yuji because he knew about Sukuna. I feel like Gojo's taught Yuji enough, and he's not worried so much about Yuji because he's like, I know he has Sukuna inside of him, and if anything bad happens to Yuji, Sukuna is going to take over, and that's going to be insurance for Yuji. So he's like, I'm not worried about him so much. But Megumi, Gojo's watched after since he was a kid. He's like, I am worried about him because I don't exactly know about his domain expansion and how good it is, and I worry about him. Nobara doesn't have a domain expansion. I'm worried about her because she's kind of a disadvantage. We're going to talk about that. I'm worried about Nobara as well. But I feel like, you know, Yuji, he feels like it's okay. But just Gojo, all of his emotions just boxing him to the floor. I love it. And then we have Yuji going up to the light. So yeah, so Gojo uses gravity to just stay right put. Now the question is, was Geto going to try to leave with the prison realm before Geto uses gravity powers? Yes, I think so. But Gege's already put a damper in what I thought was the plan, because he's like, no, now Geto has to stay there. He's rooted there until the box gets lifted up and the prison realm overrides whatever Gojo is doing. And he's like, I'm counting on you. And I just love that Yuji just screams. He just yells as loud as he can. At this point, he's high enough the cursed spirits aren't going to attack him. He's just like, I got to tell everybody. I just freaking love it. We'll get to it. But we go back to Kusakabe, him and Panda there. The ones I'm worried about. I mean, let's get everybody together. We have Kusakabe and Panda in a group. I don't know how to feel about them because I don't know what they're going to go up against. Could they go up against the blonde? I don't know, because the blonde's with the white-haired person. We're going to talk about them. I'm not so worried about them because I don't really know what they're going to end up doing. The ones I am worried about are Maki, Nobara, and the Zenin guy. I am really worried about them because the Zenin guy is drunk. He's not taking this seriously. And Maki and Nobara are strong, but we know Maki is at a huge disadvantage because they don't have any cursed energy. They have to rely on the tools. Nobara is strong, but not crazy strong like Megumi and Yuji. So I'm worried about her. And the whole thing with Choso has me really worried about her, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But Choso is after her and Yuji. Mahito's already after Yuji. So I won't be surprised if Choso ends up running into the Zenin and Nobara group. And that worries me because Choso's really strong. And I could see him being very effective against that group, and I'm a bit worried. I'm not looking forward to that. So that group I am worried about because I think that Choso is going to end up going and finding them eventually and trying to take her out first, taking Nobara out before he finds Yuji. That's what I'm afraid of. But yeah, and he's like, they're just kind of reviewing what's happening in the situation. And then Nanami, like, getting ready to go to work. There wasn't much else we could do. And that's when Yuji, like, stand. I like that Megumi was thinking about Gojo. He's like, he hasn't come back in a while. Ino looks really good in this episode. Ino looks, they just drew him better than they did earlier on in the season. I'm like, Ino looks great in this episode. Can rock that beanie. And then that's when they all go into the Veil. They all three entered. The teams did. And God, the thing that sucks is that stupid blonde comes up and our poor butler man ends up getting stabbed right as he was telling people about it. And what does that guy say? Bullying the weak is the best job for me. Is that all you, this is all you want, right? So then we get this white-haired Todoroki distant relative. The Todoroki's family's distant relative is also in Jujutsu Kaisen. Glad to hear it. Great. Related to Jono, related to all the Todorokis. They're all distant relatives. It's a cross thing. So we have the blonde curse user. I don't remember his name, but I remember he ran away very quickly. He's definitely one of the cowardly types that he just fights those he feels he can. So getting a hold of the other interns and other jujitsu sorcerers stationed outside the Veil seems to be a fitting job for him. But then we have this white-haired character, right? We have this white-haired character, and you all are going to hate me, and you guys are going to bite your teeth and be like, what are you doing? Or bite your hands or whatever. But there was a character back in season 1. It was the beach episode with Mahito and Geto and Hanami and Jogo. They were all on the beach, like living it up, and they were talking about a random curse. They were talking about a random curse that they were trying to get a hold of, right? Is that right? Were they talking about this random curse? And they were like, oh, if we get this person involved, then stuff will happen. And we were like, who's that person? And the manga readers were like, can't tell you. So I wonder if it's that same character that in the beach episode they were talking about them. Maybe. I'm going to go back to season 1 when I'm done with this discussion and check it out. But they seriously look like Jono from Bungo Stray Dogs, a relative of theirs, or they look like a character from My Hero Academia's Todoroki family. But they're just sitting there saying, yes, continue hunting down the humans in suits outside the Veil. I don't know if they're a man or a woman. They could be non-binary. It may not matter. They're very androgynous. They look very symmetrical. They have kind of a Death the Kid vibe going, where they have the 2 red dots. And their outfit looks very similar to Geto's, except underneath it is like funeral garb. So they're probably insanely strong. I'm gonna guess they are insanely strong because they look imposing. They look unimposing, but they are ordering around, and the curse user who's blonde, who is extremely arrogant in the last season, is doing whatever this person says without questioning it at all. So that leads me to believe that they are rather strong. I don't like where this is headed. And I don't like them. They give me bad vibes. And he's like, okay, sure. Can I go inside once I'm finished? And they're like, yeah, they're giving off a big Jono vibe. Secret sadist right there. If you've watched Bungo Stray Dogs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But secret sadist right there. I don't trust that white-headed person at all. No. I don't trust them one bit. But yeah, so Mechamaru ends up infiltrating and finding out that the sealing is complete, but the prison realm hasn't finished processing the information that is Gojo Satoru. What I like about it is that Brain Coon is trying to pass off that things are fine. They're like, oh, no. We've sealed him up. It's still just processing. It's still uploading Gojo. I mean, this seems a little suspicious, but it's fine. Everything's great. I don't know. Gojo, I feel like, is going to try every trick they can to keep that box from moving. He's like, I'm going to stay here. And that's when Mahito is surprisingly observant and notices Mechamaru instantly and takes him out, right? But luckily Mechamaru gets the data before they can. So now, a few minutes later, Mechamaru has been able to tell Yuji and all them that Gojo is still in basement 5, but the curses now know that the others probably are on the same page that they are. So I love the way that all of this information is kind of just disseminated. And I love that Yuji kind of goes to this central point to be able to tell everybody, mainly to tell Nanami, but hopefully the others heard as well, We think that Panda heard, I believe. And then he gets up there. We find out. I love that Yuji, the best part about him getting on that tower is he has to take out the transfigured humans. And it's a direct callback to season 1 when he first met Nanami and he had to kill a curse. And he was like, I don't think I can do this. And that's when he realized that the curse that Mahito had made were just humans that had been transfigured. And he's like, no, I need to send them to the afterlife so that they can move on. Their spirits can move on after death. And so I love that in this moment, Yuji doesn't even question it. He's like, I got to do this to save the others. I'm sorry. I'll pray over your bodies later, but we got to do this and go. I'm like, ah. It's just such a great callback to that episode. And it just shows how much Yuji's grown. And I love that Gege doesn't make a big fanfare about it, right? Gege's thing is that whenever characters have growth and development, he doesn't make it like seem like another shonen anime that would be like, look at how much, I'm thinking of Bleach. I love Bleach to death, but I'm thinking of Bleach where Ichigo would be like, this is how much I've grown in the last 6 seasons, and would like do the big power up. Yuji just does it. And we as the audience are expected to understand that he's grown as a character. And it's a very show not tell moment. It works out really well. I love it to pieces. But he gets up there and does the best thing Yuji can do, and that's be loud and says Nanamine. I love it. So everyone's listening. We see I like Panda has this one curse in a chokehold, and they're like, Gojo sensei. I like that they hear, and then he says he's been sealed. Now, I don't think we see if Maki and Nobara and them heard. But Nanami and Megumi did. And Megumi instantly is like, what do you mean he's sealed? Like, Megumi instantly is like, excuse me? And Ino's like, really? And then Nanami, God, that face that Nanami makes, where we just see the one eye where he's like, then change of plans. So, they're like, the sorcerers are going to come here in force now. They're going to come after us. So what are we going to do? And then, of course, Brain Coon says, I'm staying behind with the prison realm, so what about the rest of you? And so that's when Choso says, I'm going after revenge for my 2 younger brothers. And I forget there was more Cursed Wound paintings. There was like, what was there, 8 or 11 of them altogether? I think there was a lot. I think there was like 8 altogether. So Choso has this mission. Choso wants revenge for his brothers and to get the other brothers from Jujutsu school and to kill Yuji and Nobara. So Choso has a 3-pronged mission. He wants to get revenge for his 2 brothers that died. He wants to kill Nobara and Yuji, and he wants to go to the school and get his other brothers and take them with him. Yep. He wants to go, I'll go get the rest of my brothers from where they're being kept in Jujutsu High afterwards. And then Jogo says, I don't care about Nobara, but you cannot kill Yuji. No, because we need him to turn into Sukuna, right? So I like that Jogo wants to have Yuji become Sukuna to secure the Age of Curses. Jogo has surprisingly a big-scale, massive agenda. And I know that he had this same agenda back in season 1. I'm sure everybody will say, well, he's had this agenda all along. But it's so interesting that Jogo is presented to us at the very beginning of the season in season 1 as just this generic, maybe flavor of the week villain that Gojo was going to take out, like, as a lesson to Yuji. That's what it seemed like. And then Jogo got away. And then Jogo comes back in this, and he seems like when the Shibuya arc starts, Jogo just seems like this kind of one-note villain that's going to be like all flash and power and then get taken out. But then he tries to distract Gojo from killing Hanami. He tries to do that. He shows like some interesting like will and dexterity and thinking about like what's going to happen beyond this event. And then we get this philosophical discussion with him about Sukuna. And he says, not my problem. And I like the 2 of them just kind of like give each other a glare off, which is interesting. And then Mahito's like, Jogo, calm down. I like that Mahito of all beings is the mediator between the 2 of them, which is insanity to me. And he's like, I honestly think I want to kill Yuji too. He's like, sorry. He's like, I'm in this camp. He's like, from what I could tell after seeing Gojo in person, now they sealed away, the sorcerers and cursed spirits are evenly matched. So if Sukuna is resurrected, then he basically, what Mahito is saying is like, we can already beat them now that Gojo's gone. We don't need Sukuna to come back. We can do it on our own. So Mahito's interesting. Mahito here also wants to kill Yuji. Everybody wants to kill Yuji. Our cinnamon bun, right? Everybody wants to kill Yuji. And he thinks that Sukuna is not needed. So we kind of have like this Venn diagram with the curses. Brain Coon, what's interesting about this is we have, I guess we'll just do it here. We have this like Venn diagram, right? Where we have, kind of in the middle here, you have Choso, who's just after his bros, which are, you know, the curse wombs. Then you have Jogo, who is after the curses taking over humanity. We're going to put Kill Yuji in the middle. Here, the Kill Yuji is where the Venn diagram dissects. And then we have over here Mahito. And Mahito kind of wants the curses to take over. He also, you know, kind of wants the curse womb paintings to be reignited, I guess, what am I trying to think? Reanimated, reincarnated. And then he also wants to kill Yuji. So these three curses, they all have their own agendas, but their agendas kind of overlap in certain ways. And then there's Brain Coon. Brain Coon is the mystery. What does he want? That's the big question, because he doesn't get in on this. He's just like, oh no, I gotta stay here with the prison realm. I can't go anywhere, guys. Sorry, I'm gonna abstain. He doesn't really say anything about his goal. I mean, he's been trying to get the fingers to give to Yuji to become Sukuna. Sure, he seems on board with the idea of Sukuna coming back, but why? And what does that mean? And what does that do? I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm curious. I'm curious why he doesn't seem to want to kill Yuji, but is the reason because he wants to bring Sukuna back or not? I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious. I feel like he wants to bring Sukuna back, but then they said it themselves that Sukuna coming back was just an alternate option. If the prison's realm didn't work, then it was like option 2 is we bring Sukuna back. So what do we do? He's like, so we'll just kill Yuji now, and even if we leave Sukuna, we're still going to win because we're still stronger, right? And it goes back to season 1 where we see Jogo. We go back to that hot spring moment with Mahito and Jogo, but now Jogo's like, I don't want to be the one smiling in the wasteland a century from now. As long as curses can live as people, that's all that matters. So it's kind of weird, right? It's weird because Jogo of all curses, like he's murdered people, yeah, which is terrible, but all he wants is for his own kind to have an existence, which is so baffling. And so you don't expect a villain to kind of be so like genuine in their response like that. It's refreshing, honestly. I can't hate Jogo, honestly. Mahito killed Junpei and has done some bad things. But Jogo is just kind of like a hammy villain that I'm like, And I like that Jogo even acknowledges, he's like, well, you know what? If we revive Sukuna, he may kill us all. He may get pissed off and decide we're not worthy, and then poof, it's over. But he's like, we have a better chance of gaining our own freedoms if we do resurrect Sukuna. So that's why I've got to pursue it. It's fascinating, right? And so the essence of us curses that those fakes last. They talk about, what's interesting is that Jogo talks about how curses are like the more evolved form of mankind than mankind itself. He talked about it in season 1. And I can get why Mahito would kind of go against that, because Mahito is born from humans. So, of course, he'd be like, And Choso, who is also technically born from a human because he's from the Curse Moon paintings, he kind of doesn't really have a say in or an opinion about it either. But interesting, right? When I said you were wrong, I meant regarding what curses are. The whole resurrection thing is one possibility, but I don't want to fight you over it. So let's play a game instead. Whoever gets to Yuji first gets to kill him. And I like that Choso's like, can I get in on this? And he's like, oh, sure. And then, of course, Brain Coon says, no, I gotta stay here in the prison realm. Sorry. There is a look that Mahito gives Brain Coon in this moment. Mahito gives this look to Brain Coon like, I can see through you. You're planning something else, but it doesn't affect me. I'm still going to be strong enough that whatever you're planning isn't going to affect me, so I'm going to go along with my game. It's a look, right? I feel that Brain Coon has a plan and has something that they're working out. There's something else in the mix. Gege has not revealed all the cards yet. There's something else amiss. And I feel like Mahito knows what it is, but he doesn't want to say it out loud because I don't think Jogo knows. And I don't think Choso knows. So he's just like, fine, I'll go along. We'll play this game. You just keep doing what you're doing. And he's like, do whatever you'd like. As far as I'm concerned, Sukuna was just the alternative if the prison realm failed. There's something between them in that moment because Jogo just writes them off being like, oh, this is ridiculous. No, there's something there. Brain Coon is plotting something. Brain Coon has another card up its sleeve. And the question is, does Mahito know? Or did Mahito figure it out and isn't telling? I don't know. Something else is amiss, right? Something's going on. And so then he's like, this won't even be a game. And so then Mahito goes. And then Choso like, I'm going too. Bye. It's like the most lively Choso has been in forever. It's like, and the thing about it is Gege frames it as they're just like going off and playing tag when they're going to go murder people. But it's like the most lively we've seen Choso all series, so I'll take it. And that's why he says the cursed spirits are smarter than you two. And they say, give him back. And it's the two. Now, how they were not affected by the infinite void, I guess because they either weren't there at that exact moment and came later after the infinite void was canceled or not. They're like, we kept dropping monkeys for you. They call them monkeys just like Geto did. We cooperated with you and did what you asked. And they're like, now give us Geto-sama's body back like you promised. Don't toy with us. Don't toy with Geto any further. I love the fact that you have the two twins who them and Gojo would love him the most. And of course, Brain Coon's like, I'm not giving him back. I fooled you. You were dumb enough to go along with it. He says, I don't recall leaving your heads empty too. So they brought him the body, right? Did they procure the body? It wouldn't surprise me if the twins were the ones that got the body for Brain Coon. Would not surprise me. The question is, how did Brain Coon find the twins? How did he convince them? That part's interesting, right? That part is the question. Like, how did he convince them to let him use the body? But he did. And now they want it back, and he's like, no. Next time you make a promise with a sorcerer, make it clear that it's a pact. Oh, and that part's so crazy too, because he's like, you guys, we shook on it, but we didn't put it in writing. So next time it's like, basically Brain Coon just told the twins, don't take any wooden nickels. That's what he told them. He's like, you should have made a better pact and made it in writing than just a verbal promise. Nope. Do you want to be killed by this body? What's interesting is that he doesn't kill them. He doesn't attack them. Probably, if he knows the memories that Geto has of those two, he probably knows that if he tried to attack them, then the body might respond like it did with Gojo, and he doesn't want to risk that. I think that's what it is. I think that he doesn't want to attack the two twins in Geto's body because he's afraid there might be backlash. So he's like, never mind. But the twins leave. They say, you're going to regret this. Oof. And then the eyes staring. Like the eyes of Gojo staring out. And so Gojo saw the twins. Interesting. And he says, regret, huh? Ooh, now, how did that taste again? Oh! It's just like, oh, he's like, how'd that regret taste again? How was that? Tell me, Gojo. The worst part is he's just standing over Gojo watching him, right? Just watching him and like letting him just soak it in. Ugh. But yeah, the white-haired curse user or curse or whatever it is has robes that are similar to Geto's, only it doesn't cover the entire body. It's only draped part way when the white shows up from underneath it. And so yeah, Yuji's been screaming for him, and I love that Megumi's like just karate chops him like, come on, dude. And then Ino's like, you were referring to Miss Nanami, huh? And then as they're paying the cat, Mechamaru explains everything of what's been happening. And so Nanami's like, all right, then we've got a new mission. It's an emergency. And you can tell Nanami does not like the idea of involving Yuji and Megumi. And now that we know about Haibara dying, we can understand why. So he leaves Ino to watch over them. But I don't like that either because Ino... I love Ino to pieces, but Ino is kind of a red shirt to me. I'm a bit worried about him, if I'm being honest. So, we have Nanami goes on. And Nanami going off on his own, I don't like that either. Nope. Don't like it one bit. I don't like Nanami going off on his own. Going off by herself is usually a bad idea. I don't like it. At least Mei Mei has her brother with her. If we've learned anything, being by yourself is not a good idea. But we have Yuji, Ino, and Megumi. Team Yim. So yeah, I don't like this. I don't like Nanami being by himself because we know Mahito is going after them. What if Mahito runs into Nanami again? What if Mahito runs into Nanami again? And it's like round 2. But this time Yuji's not there to save him. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like Choso saying he wants to go after Nobara and Yuji because the fact that we have 3 curses going after Yuji at the same time, I feel like Choso's going to run into Nobara first and battle them, and it's going to be very bad. I feel like Mahito is going to run into Nanami, and it's going to be either Mahito or Jogo is going to run into Nanami, and it's not going to be good. Although, I feel, in my mind, my prediction is that Jogo may run into Panda and Kusakabe, which would be interesting. But I feel like Jogo is going to run into Itadori and Megumi and Ino first. Mahito is going to run into Nanami. And my fear is that what happens if like Nanami and Nobara and Panda and them get into a pickle. Because I mean, Yuji and Megumi are a pretty strong team. I think they can handle it. But I don't know. I'm worried about Nobara. I'm worried about Nanami, and I'm worried about Panda and Kusakabe because Panda and Kusakabe don't seem like... I think that Panda and Kusakabe are going to run into the blonde and the white-haired individual. I think the white-haired individual is going to wreck both of them. I don't think the blonde is going to be the one to worry about. I think the white Todoroki distant relative is going to be the one to worry about, and I think that they're going to wreck them. Don't like that. I feel like if Mahito faces Nanami... I don't know. I don't want anything bad to happen to Nanami, but I feel like he could get incapacitated by Mahito, or at least Mahito will be battling Nanami to the point where he's about to die and then sees Yuji and is like, ha, bye! And then goes after him and Nanami is too injured to do anything. That could happen. And then Nobara, I feel like if they battle Choso, I don't like that at all. Because I feel like some bad shit could happen. Could any of these characters die? I think Ino's going to die. I think Kusakabe is going to die. I don't know about Panda. We don't know where Inumaki is, honestly, or Udahime or any of them. But what if Inumaki went to go find Yuta? What if they sent Inumaki and Udahime to go find Yuta and bring him into the fray and get him involved? Because Inumaki and Yuta are like besties. What if they did that? Can they do that, please? Can we have that? I want Yuta to show up. And if Yuta showed up and saved the day, that would honestly be amazing. And I would love that. Because, you know, Yuta's tied to Gojo too. So, and Yuji hasn't met Yuta. So I think Yuta and Yuji would get along. I think they would get along a lot because they're very similar characters. They're a little bit different. Yuta's kind of like a mixture between Megumi and Yuji. So Megumi gets along with Yuta really well. So I feel like since they're such good friends, then Yuji and Yuta might be a little distant at first, but then I think they'd warm up to each other and be really good friends. I don't know. But you know he's going to come at some point. Why show us the movie and hint at him if not? But I love that Nanami puts Ino in charge. And he's like, please take care of those two. Oh, I don't like that. He's like, I will. That seems like Ino promising Nanami and saying Nanami's counting on me to watch over you two. It does not spell good for Ino. It just doesn't, right? It doesn't spell good for Ino. And so then we talk about the two main reasons why the whole Gojo being sealed is a problem, which is a lot more than I thought at first. It's first the collapse of the Gojo clan. So right now, they bring up that it's not just the clan. It's not just the fact that Gojo is by himself. And I've ran out of space on Whiteboard Coon. But it's not the fact that Gojo is a one-man clan. But there have been lots of sorcerers saved by him due to his pride, influence, and whims. Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one. He's like, Itadori, you're one of those that was saved. Megumi is one of them as well. He's like, all those people are going to find themselves in trouble and worst case eliminated, right? So he's like, on the one hand, you have all these people that Gojo has saved using his influence. Without Gojo there, the Jujutsu Society is going to be wondering, well, do we kill them? Do we execute them? Do we like banish them? What do we do with them? And then they don't have the protection that they once did under Gojo, which we talked a little bit about that last episode. But the other issue is the power balance. And I hadn't really thought about this, but yeah, the idea that a lot of these curses weren't getting involved because they were afraid of Gojo. Yeah. Now they will get involved. And it's like, oh, so we'll not only have, so Jujutsu Society is going to be fighting amongst itself and also fighting amongst the curses. That's a problem. We're going to lose if that's the case. That's what Nanami and I decided. The age of humans would be over for Japan. So he's like, we got to break the veil before Nanami gets back. Oh, I just, what do we do? Was there anything after the credits? Was there any extra credits? I think there was. Oh, there was an after credit scene. Oh, well, hold on just a second. Oh no, hold on just a second. We're gonna watch this after credit scene because I didn't know about it. Oops. Hold on just a second. Okay. I didn't even see who this Arasaka woman, who is that? We'll go back there. I want to pause this and change this. What was their name? Ogami, old Ogami, Awasaka and old Ogami. The one guy with the mohawk seems familiar, like he was maybe in the movie, but I don't remember correctly. But okay, so now there's more curse users coming out of the woodwork. Well, awesome. Great. And I like that the old woman's basically like, well, things aren't going to change. People are going to get cursed. They're going to curse and then they'll die. Nothing will change. It's just the power balance changes of who will get cursed, who will die, who will be curses. That's the only thing that changes, right? Interesting. So that's the problem now. It's not only going to be Jogo, Mahito, and Choso that's the problem. It's not only going to be them and the transfigured humans that's the problem. It's not only going to be the transfigured humans, the three curses, and the other, curses that weren't transfigured humans that have shown up. It's not going to be just that's the problem. Now we have other curse users coming out of the woodwork now that Gojo's been sealed. It's like a beacon has been lit and all the moths are coming to the flame. That makes it more complicated. Gay, why are you doing this? Why? No. Oh. In any case, I really liked this episode. It was great. There was a lot going on, a lot of philosophical debates, but I'm excited to see what you all comment down below. Please, no manga spoilers. Please, no explanations. I'll figure it out eventually. We'll see who our white-haired Snow White Red Rose character is. I'm sure they're nothing to be worried about. But we'll find out next week. I've already got my cosplay planned out. I'm excited. So I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to bring back an old favorite. So I figured at one point I'm just going to have a mojito with mojito. So, or a mojito with mojito. So we'll see. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, we'll be back next week with more Jujutsu Kaisen.